questions. Now, with all this going on, Kevin, with all this going on with the corona, how long do you think this case will take to surface into the courtrooms?
Um, that just depends because, with all pretty much all the states, all grand juries have been suspended and stuff like that. So, one of our main things right now is just to try to pressure the issue to have um, indictments toward the officers to go to the grand jury. So we're looking at trying to press for criminal charges, not just, money means nothing. That'll never get my son back, but I want people responsible to pay for the crime they committed, regardless if you did it under the color of law or what, because I know what should have happened and it didn't happen. And for the chief himself to even say that it was a admirable job, what they did, and then for him to even put the officer back on the street before the investigation was over and, said, well, during a town hall meeting, he says that what y'all expect me to do, to just let him sit at home and collect a paycheck? I mean, that's the type of deal that we deal with. So I have no respect.
Let him sit at home and collect the check because he might go out there and kill another black boy.
Exactly the point, but that just shows you the favoritism in that area. And then not only that, but the ranger that did the investigation has successfully been sued by the for civil rights violations under the Fifth Circuit Court. So, so that gives you a lot of confidence of the investigation and who handles it when they have a relationship. And the Texas Ranger himself was running for the same position in 2018 for the chief of police in Denton. So you don't think there's some type of relationship there and bias in the investigation? Yes, it is. It's just a lot of biased things has been going on. Even when have you ever seen a video released where the chief has to narrate what's going on rather than let the people see for themselves, to bias the whole thing of what people believe really happened? They can see what happened, but this is how screwed up things have been. So we just have to continue to push. And I'm leaving it. I'm a man of faith, and God has spoke to me in some different areas. But at the same time, we have to take the actions that He allows to take, and we have to leave room for God to be God in this situation. So and that's what we're having to do.
Well, at this point, what I want to do is I want to find out who you are as the father, because like father like son is what they always say. And I know I'm just like my father, and we don't have DJ here with us now to tell us, how his father is. So we'll get it from the horse's mouth. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on and what you're doing, because I know there's some things out there that make this even crazier, because you're involved in some areas of the government that it's just kind of like, man, if it's black, they don't care. So now tell us a little bit about you, Kevin. I know you be pastoring at your dad's church, and you're part of a couple of organizations prior to this, before all of the organizations you're in now, but prior to it. So tell us a little bit about what's going on in your life prior to this incident happening.
Pretty much just staying focused on everything. And my whole goal was to try to make a difference with the criminal justice system as well. And,
what were you doing?
Well, actually, I'm still doing, which is I'm outside of pastoring and outreaches and having, doing my own business and, financial and banking and stuff like that. What I actually do, I'm part of the City of McKinney Chief of Police Advisory Council, which we review and hold accountability and kind of take a look at what's going on, what needs to be changed, and different perspectives from different races and communities to make departments better. And then I'm also part of the peer support team for the police department and the police chaplain.
Man, so, hey man, does it feel a little bit like maybe they didn't want you to do that and they took it out on you? I mean, it could make you feel some type of way. How does that make you feel, man? I mean, because you're involved with the police and everything.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, because they didn't know it. And the only reason that I was able to actually be able to press the point of watching and seeing that video before we pushed to have it released is because I was connected to the police department. So, if that hadn't have been something in my life, there was even a white suspect that had been shot in the back in Denton County 5 months prior to my son being killed, and that video's never been released. So what does that tell you? So, God, purposely puts you in positions for His purpose.
That's right.
So I don't take it out on every officer. My background, I was a criminal justice major myself, and I deal with good officers. Even some of the Denton officers, which were, minorities, came to me and said, man, all of us are not bad, and we've been praying for you. This is coming out of the officer's mouth themselves. So what does that tell you? So there's actually some issues. And when you have people of other nationalities coming to you in that same city saying there's a problem, and this is the first time anybody's really fighting and standing up, because it's never happened like this before, then again, that's another sign of God wants to uncover some things. So, so I just have to be steadfast, but at the same time, I respect law enforcement just like my son did, and otherwise I wouldn't support it. But my thing is, it's even now, with our chief, I don't know if you know, but if you read, McKinney is one of the safest places with cities over 100,000. All the people talk about is the pool incident, but the chief of police that's in McKinney right now, he had just took that position, but he immediately fired that officer once he was able to do it legally, by protocol to do what needs to be done.
What happened there? What happened with that incident, man? I don't know about that. What was that? The pool incident?
That was years. That was what McKinney started being recognized for when the officer.
They killed a black kid or something?
No. It was just when they call it the pool party incident. If you Google it, you'll see it.
Yeah, I will. I'll check it out.
It was an officer out of control, and it was a little black girl. So it was definitely something that shouldn't happen. But it was taken care of, and he was fired, and probably will never work in law enforcement again. But one of the things
we want.
Yeah, and one of the things I respect about where I'm at is that even with the police bias, because we know there's a problem. The chief now is sending officers through training, proper crisis. Yeah, he because of the mental crisis situation, and that it's mandatory that our officers in McKinney go through additional 40 hours of training, or they're not going to be on the active list. So he makes sure and he holds the officers accountable, and that doesn't mean that the department is perfect. Do you still have, everybody knows there's still going to be some black spots in anything that you do. But when you have some type of accountability, that makes a big difference. So I hadn't lost faith in law enforcement, because of what I'm dealing with and what I see going on. But like Martin Luther King says, when it comes to justice, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So even though I support law enforcement, I'm still against injustice.
Right. So now here's the question. Here's the thing. So do they have to do because I know you're on the board. Do they have to do continuous training, or is it just do your hours, your 40 hours, and you're done? Because even as far as the hospitals go, people who save people's lives, they have to do what they call CEUs, continuous education. So they have to do so many hours every year, even though they've got their degree to save lives as a nurse or a doctor. They still have to do it every year for new things that may come about. Now, do police have to go through the same thing, or they just do that 40 hours and they're good? And 5 years from now, there's a new issue going on, and they don't have any clue because they don't have continuous training, because that's what you'll do to save lives. I think it should be the same way if you're able to take a life,
Yeah, but that actually goes to governmental and leadership, because things that go on in McKinney department may not go on in other departments because of the leadership, the way that they're ran. So, but when you serious about making a difference and making a change, you'll do just like McKinney's doing, and you'll make sure that officers go through the proper training and additional training that needs to be done in order to make the force better, and try to make sure everything, because one thing that McKinney says is do the right thing, do the best you can do, and treat people the way you want to be treated. Now, if you, does that mean that everybody does it? No, but if it's found out, then there's some accountability. And being part of the advisory council, when things happen, citizens can even come to us and we go directly to the chief and let's lay this down. Let's see what really happened. Let's review this, because we need to have some transparency and accountability. A lot of departments don't have just like Denton, they didn't have any transparency because the chief there says that he will never release a video before it goes to a grand jury. And then he tried to say that we were going to call uncivil arrest, and that was the only reason that he released it. But he's saying he don't bow down to nobody. He do it the way he want to do it, which causes a lot of confusion for one, and lack of transparency, and it also causes corruption.
Right, because it's kind of like, what do you got to hide? What are you hiding for? I mean, let the truth come out. The point is to find out the truth. That's what law is there for. It's like to find out, did he actually go over there and follow all the rules he was supposed to with his attack or his shooting, or did he do this corruptly? And that's the thing, man. A lot of people have a lot of the government things they have in the way so that you can't get the truth. Or they hide things, or they send it through multiple people, and by the time it's kind of like that thing that they used to tell you to do in school. Tell a secret right here, line up 10 people, tell a secret right here, and pass it on down through the ears. By the time it gets to the last person, the story didn't changed. You see, and that's what's going on now. They pass it down enough times, the story changes, the footage changes, everything starts changing. It's like, dang, this ain't what I saw from the original. Or this is not what I heard, or this was not what was written when I read it. So I think if there's a curiosity about a murder, coming from the department, I think it should be open book like the government does everything else. Like the government opens the books for everything at any time. It's all open to the public, So I just think that the law is set up in certain ways. In a lot of ways, it's set up to harm us. And it just seems like it. I don't even know if it really, really is set up to harm us. But the way it's been going throughout decades, it seems like it's only targeted for us, because with the law comes jail. And it's just kind of like, it just doesn't seem quite right. And now here we are at a point where now people are just even being murdered for no reason at all. Like I just thought that was my crib, or he was jogging. I mean, there's so many deaths coming on. Like it's like, who's watching the hood? Who's watching in the ghetto? Who's protecting us in the ghetto? Because all of them out here killing the wrong, killing people who are doing just fine out here, that aren't causing any chaos. So it's just kind of like, I guess when the criminals aren't doing crime, I guess the cops got to find somebody, huh?
But one big thing, California is the only state that's done it so far. They've changed the legalities when it comes to use of deadly force, because most states, they just say, it's kind of broad of when you can use deadly force. All you have to do is basically say, I was in fear of my life. But now California is holding them accountable. You have to show where that actual fear was. You can't just say it and just be inclusive. So other states need to take that and kind of break that down, because what about the person themselves? They in fear of their lives, especially as a black man today. We're all fearing for our life, because you don't know the next time something may happen. Even if you're doing the right thing, we have to teach our kids to do things a certain way, just to try to keep their life. My son knew right from wrong. He just happened to be in a situation where he needed help, and instead of getting the help that he needed, he got murdered. So and this kid has never been anything. So the thing is, if you do the job, I believe if there had been other officers there, this might have happened, because they made it the right procedures to de-escalate, to give him room to speak to him, to find out what's going on, to talk to him and say, DJ, we're here to help you. But none of that happened. All they want to do is for you to comply to my commands. And if you can't comply to my commands, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to tase you.
Like a slave.
So that's kind of what happened in this situation. But he was unable to comply, and people, in order to get the public on their side, they try to say he stabbed an officer, but that's not the truth, And yet to this day, you haven't seen that officer on the news or anything showing officer stabbed. Even in the interview, when the chief said, he said a uniform was sliced, but how was it sliced? When was it sliced? But that's still a big difference from somebody being stabbed.
Yeah. So now, when you went down there, did you see anything like that in the video, that he had been cut or clothes slashed?
No, they didn't. You won't even hear an officer say anything about being stabbed or cut in the video.
Right.
They find out about that later, and then the officer's going to be all right. And my thing is, I talked to the Texas Ranger when I went down to the crime scene, and they never called us. The hospital never called us. The police department, nobody ever called us. And when I got down there, he was killed at 3 o'clock. I got down there about 11 o'clock that morning. His body was already shipped to Fort Worth to the coroner's office down there. And, I talked to the Texas Ranger. He told me one story. Then when they found out I was part of police department, they called the chief out there. He came and told me another story and looked me straight in the eyes. And I was concerned about the officer because I'm saying, okay, my kid, did it have an accident? This could have happened. So I'm just making sure. But he acted like the officer was in worse shape than my son, after they done murdered him. He's really this. But I haven't seen, even at the end of the tape, they showed no mercy, no compassion whatsoever, until
just
they
another
see
dead nigga.
Yeah, and then they talking about, oh, you look at all these stitches in his face, and like, what is that about? Yeah, he's been in an accident, but they didn't know that at the time. But to me, they just immediately used implicit bias, looked at him as a threat. They didn't look at him as a college kid. They didn't look at him as a young man that needed help, but, they knew his name. They knew he was erratic. There was erratic behavior. But the chief took 2 911 calls that he specifically picked out to try to narrate the video to make it look like my son was trying to do something that really wasn't true. Then he tried to put him on PCP, which my son wasn't on drugs and didn't do anything. So all this stuff is just an illusion. He even put a pan on there that wasn't the pan that my son had in the hand that was all bent up, trying to say. So all this type of stuff is an illusion to the public, and this is stuff people are not paying attention to or not seeing.
Mm-hmm. Dang, man, that's
because
bad.
When you look at the crime scene video, you'll see this flat little clear pan, but when he does the thing, he shows this bent up thing and says, yeah, he used this upstairs and all this, trying to make it look like he had superhuman strength and all this, and it's just crazy to what they do.
I seen the video. I seen the video, man. He was acting really bizarre at the top of the steps, like kind of like he was in a zone. You could tell that there was a mental issue going on right there.
Yeah, there was no communication.
Before I talked to you,
he was only talking to God.
Right.
There was no other communication.
Yeah, there was no other communication. I seen the video, and I was kind of shocked. I didn't think he was dead because they didn't show it. Ended right there when he hit the ground when they tased him. I thought that was the end of it. They didn't continue on to show the rest.
No, there's another part on there when he gets up and they shoot him 2 more times, and then I didn't see that. They go, it's another part.
I seen the first one, and remind you, I didn't even know that was your son at the time. I didn't even know when I talked to you, I didn't even know you was going through this. I was just talking to you, and then you told me the story, and I was like, man, I just watched that the other day, and then come to find out it was your son. That really startled me, man. It kind of, it was like a dream. It was like, nah, this ain't, something's wrong here. This ain't right. So because the kid I saw, when they took it off of him, it wasn't like, okay, and he's dead. It was just like, okay, another. You know how cops do the little cop show. So I just thought he just went to jail and he was in jail. I didn't know he ended up being murdered after that. I didn't realize that. That was a shocker to me because I'm always watching those shows right there. Anything to do with the cops, I'd stay on TV for that. Now, one more question real quick, man, because we're almost at the top of the hour and I know you got to go, but I got one more question. Well, 2 more questions. One is, do you think that all these incidents with these black kids being shot by white cops, do you think that this really has something to do with racism?
Like I say, it's not necessarily just racism. That's where, if you study on implicit bias, some of it is racism, but some of it is traditional racism. I say you do still have some people out there, regardless of the uniform, that may have some other issues going on. But a major part of it is what studies just keep showing over and over is implicit bias, because we all have some implicit biases, whether we know it or not. But when they do tests and they run these simulations, whether you were black, Hispanic, or white, when you run a black person through this simulation, he's more highly, even if he's unarmed, to be shot before a white person was. That's regardless of who's pulling the trigger, whether you're white, black, or Hispanic, or whatever. The black man is still the first one to be shot, whether he's armed or disarmed. So it's got a lot to do with implicit bias, and that's why
explain explicit bias for us one more time. And I don't know if you explained it, but tell us what that means so the audience can know.
Well, implicit bias describes an automatic association with people that make between groups of people and stereotypes about those groups.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
so, under certain conditions, those automatic associations can influence the behavior, how that person reacts, making people respond in a biased way, even when they're not explicitly prejudiced.
Is that like a racial profile piece is in there then, huh? Like a
Yeah,
racial profiling.
unsubliminally, it's like somewhat to that correlation.
Yeah.
It's like people used to see a black cat all the time
It was
because
the
you've been
bad luck.
told it was bad luck. So you see a black cat, you ready to run. So
Yeah.
now
I go the other way.
notice it's still related to black. You see a
Yeah.
black man, close your purse or lock the door or
Same thing. Yeah.
be heightened. So it's been done so long in history that we are a threat more likely than any other culture out there. So
Yeah.
the reaction is different associated with our group of people. So
Mm-hmm.
now you see more of us, being dehumanized or killed or shot, not necessarily because you're more dangerous, but because of the perception.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So now, in this whole thing, Kevin, how have you been? How have you been doing, man? I mean, because it's like every day you're reminded about this because every day you're working on something towards your son. How have you been, man? Because a lot of family members, I don't know them, but I just don't really see them out there really fighting. Or well, not all of them, but I've seen a couple of them, but I just don't know them, so I don't follow them. I'm following you, and I'm following what's going on with the programs, and I'm talking to you personally because you're my friend. How are you doing, man? How has it caused an effect on you? Because you're dealing with this every single day because you wake up and you get a phone call, well, we found out this about your son, or we found out this from this department, and this and this and that, and it's all related to your son. How are you doing, and how is your sleeping at night?
To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
my rest has been almost non-existent since this happened. I mean, it changes your life. This is a whole new journey. This is life changing. This is something that your life has changed forever, whether you wanted to or not. And if you really don't have God in your life, it's no way, because the old Kevin that you know is completely broken. And when they say, God's the potter and we the clay, old Kevin now he's completely broken and he's on the potter wheel. So everything that people see me out there, people were saying, I don't see how strong you are. You give us strength. You do this, you do that. None of that was me. All that is God, because Kevin, if Kevin was in Kevin's mind, Kevin would want to do something totally different, But I have to trust God and trust the process, because God spoke to me and I got on my knees and I cried out and I was mad. I was angry. Yes, as a man of God, I dealt with some serious emotions, and I had to ask God until he came and spoke to me, and he gave me scripture and he spoke out to me. But I'm chosen for this season, and I'm going to stand my ground. And I'm going to do what it needs to change other people's lives, to change this system, to change some of the things that's going on wrong in policing, to make sure my son's name won't be in vain, to make sure that his name and his new changes in laws are to protect other people. So now I have a fight, not just locally, but there's some things that I'll be doing nationally that, I probably wouldn't have been doing if this hadn't happened. But I have to do it now, not just because God called me, but because, my son, he was that was part of me. So now he's not here. So I have, that's a generation, that's my seed. So I had to stand up and fight and be a voice for my seed, and I believe thousands of other lives will be changed and saved because of his life. So
when
there
you
was
get
another
done with
man.
it, I know.
2,000 years ago that had to give his only son, and they called him Jesus. And in this season, I had to give up my son, but I have to go back because he could have took my son in the accident the week prior because he was not responsive. But he allowed him another week to be here, and he allowed him to go to a church he'd never been to before. And he allowed him at the end of that service to walk down and said, I want to surrender my life. So he allowed him to be in close. And God had to show me that, hey, even that's why he was speaking to me. me. And even when he was being abused and shot and tased, I had him covered. He was with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my peace. That's what I go on, because I know that he was communicating with God. He didn't call out mama. He didn't call out
He
daddy,
sure
brother,
didn't. He
sister.
sure didn't.
He said,
Yeah.
my heavenly Father from
Yeah.
above, my only Lord and Savior. And
Mm-hmm.
the chief tried to say all he was doing was mumbling some strange words. Those are
Mm.
not strange words. That shows you
No, I
that
heard
the
that God
enemy.
part. I heard it. I heard it
Yeah.
myself. Myself.
Even
Yeah.
even when he was on the ground, he said, "My
Mm.
heavenly Father, I will not
Mm.
fear. My heavenly Father is my shield." So that gives me peace to know where God had him and where his mindset was. He didn't see them, but those were spirits that were attacking him. And I'm on a spiritual warfare myself, so
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna have to answer for what they done.
Yeah, they definitely are, man. And you know what, man? The way that, like you said, the way that God put this together, it now you can kind of see the light. It's like, man, God could have took him on a car accident and all this killing would still go on, but he didn't. He let him live another day just so that he can get you to understand that we need you to fight. In honesty, man, I have not seen yet, and I haven't seen them all, but I have not seen any men that are talking about what has happened to their murdered sons yet. This is the first time I've ran into a man standing up for his son. Most of them are women that I see doing that. So, I mean, you know, you got a big mission. Hey, man, you just do one thing for me. You keep me posted. Don't worry. I got your number. I know where you live. I know your wife. Oh, by the way, how your wife doing, man?
She's doing good. She's doing
All right.
good.
You tell her I said hi, man, and I'm praying for y'all, man. But you keep me posted, Kevin. Let me keep the audience posted. Let me keep the people out there posted on what's going on, so we can support you and stand behind you. The more people we get behind this thing, the better it is.
And one thing that I will ask for in the support fashion is to, one of the things we're pressing the DA to file charges. So we're asking all people to call in to the Denton District Attorney's office and ask for charges to be filed against the officers, because we just been wanting to blow up the phones and keep it ringing, because the only way you do it is to continue to pressure the issue. You let them know that the eyes are still on this. So, if you want to write a number down.
Yeah, give me a number, man. Give me a number.
The district attorney's office is 972-434-8826. 972-434-8826. And we're asking the DA Paul Johnson's office to request indictments to the grand jury for the murder of Darius J. Tarver.
Okay, well, Kevin, man, I got one more thing for you, but I need you to do me a favor. I need you to just kind of hold on the line, because I want to put in this series the telephone number at the bottom. Then that way it's in while this program is running, because I'm going to do quite a few reruns, and I want to make sure that we can get as many people as we can calling. And you know what? The power that's going to come behind this, Kevin, man, I just thank you for being a man of God, man, because it's one of those things that this thing right here is getting out of control. It's getting way out of control, and we needed a black man to stand up and do the things that you're doing, because it's been a lot of black women, which I love my black women, but sometimes we need that man to kind of do what we need to move forward, to really get the attention of the people, especially a strong black man like yourself that knows how to speak well, that's been a pastor since I've known you. So we need that kind of black man, not nobody ignorant out here. We've got a real strong black man that's going to be talking about situations that he actually has been going through himself, and I really appreciate you for that, man, and I love you for that, man. So just give me a few minutes. I wanted to put the number up there. I'm gonna come right back to you. I'm gonna play just one song, and I'm gonna come right back to you, because I want to ask you this last question. Let me prepare you for this question. What is the one thing you want us all to remember about your son? So just hold on to that question, think about it, and I'll be right back. I just want to put the number up, but I got to go to the computer to do it. Let's see here. All right. Thank you for that number. Let me see. Let's just keep it right here. Kilo D. That's too hood. All right. We'll just leave you right there, Kevin, man. Leave the picture on, man. And if you want to, Kevin, you can talk to the people and go ahead and answer that question. I'm not going to go to music. I'm going to go ahead and let you answer that question right now. I'm going to be in the background putting the number up on the screen, and you just go ahead and tell us one thing, what you would like us to remember about DJ Tarver.
The biggest thing, like I tell people all the time, is that this was a kid that wanted to make a difference and make a change, and he was actually killed by what he wanted to change. And this is a kid that had a bright future that was taken away from him. So the biggest thing is this was not only my future, but it was the future of our community. This is a kid that could have made a difference, but he was wiped out because of, I won't say specifically, but he was wiped out by what he wanted to help change. So that's the biggest thing is, he busted his butt to be able to get to a position to make change, but the very thing that he wanted to make change in is the very thing that took him out.
So what would you like us to remember him by, man? What would you like us to remember old DJ about, man? Put something in people's hearts, man, for them to remember this view of what's going to probably change Texas for sure.
Well, the last part I said, one of the things he did, he surrendered his life to Christ, and when he went out, he was with the best warrior that he could ever be with, which was God himself. So the thing is he's going to make a difference. So the thing is that because of what he went through with mental crisis, that's going to be one of my big things, because too many people, and especially our people, are being killed and murdered just for being us. And I want him to be able to, his name to be able to change some laws and make a difference, not only locally, but nationally, to save others' lives, because I've had young kids and parents calling me asking what they could do because they were dealing with some of the same situations and their kids were experiencing what my son was experiencing. So this is not something that's rare. It's something that people are dealing with all around the country. But to have a 911 call and issue a death sentence just for needing help, that's something that has to change.
Okay, Kevin, man. I'm finishing this up right now.
Yeah.
I would have did it
Yeah.
and everything, but I just got this information, and I want to
Yeah.
make sure that it's on the broadcast as time goes. Okay.
Yep. Because this is a kid that wanted to make a difference. He didn't get the opportunity, so I have to carry on his legacy, to make change in the things that he wanted to help, make a difference in. So, so this is a lifelong journey. It's not just a reaction. This is a movement.
Oh yeah, I like that. This is a movement. That's what we need too. Well, Kevin, is there anything else you want to tell us, or you want to speak on, or is that have you got everything out? We did about an hour solid right here. So, and I got it in 2 segments, so I'll be running it, in 2 different ways. The first half, and then the second half. So, and I'm just gonna run this once a week, or until you come back and do another interview with us. But I know it's gonna get to a point where you can't really talk on any of this because it's under the courts. So, but you promised to at least keep me posted so I can keep them posted, because I have been talking with the audience for maybe since the last time we got off the phone, Kevin, about how you were going to come and talk to us about it and what happened in the whole scenario. So now they can go to YouTube and watch this, right?
Yeah, just put in my son's name, Darius Tarver, and it's horrific to watch if you watch the whole video. Don't watch the one with the 4 different segments. That's how they tried to confuse everybody. They had all these videos running at the same time. Mm-hmm. But if you go in there and you see the one where it's just him, and you see him coming down the stairs and things like that, mm-hmm. the whole video is there, to where from him standing still, them tasing him, shooting him, falling on the ground, and not being armed, and them not doing anything, allowing him to get up and shoot him 2 more times. And just think, if it was really that big of a threat, he would have been shot by more than one officer.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because they love to shoot. They love to shoot niggas, man. They love to shoot us, man, just for no reason, man. But all right, Kevin, man. Well, I just want to thank Kevin Tarver, man, for coming out here, being a very strong black man, an example that we need to see more oftenly, just an example of what we really stand for out here, an example of what the other races sometimes get nervous about, and that's why these kind of things are occurring. But at the end of the day, we don't practice anything except for living. That's what we practice. Black men practice how to live, and that's unfair. Most people practice other things. We just practice on trying to stay alive. And so here we have two black men, me, him, and then his son, which was a positive man in society, talking about something that we shouldn't have to be talking about. You guys stop killing us. Today's topic was, will the police ever stop killing our black men? So thank you, Kevin, for coming out, man. I will be running this, and I will be keeping post on everything that's going on with you, man. And if you got anything that you missed out or you want to come back anytime on the show, you can, man. All right?
All right. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. We'll talk to you again, man, real soon. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Be blessed.